Okay, it says I have a weak connection, so I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm just gonna try it for the first time. Um, don't know if I can do anything to fix it. Yeah, no, not really. So anyway, um, whether or not anyone listens, this is probably just good practice for me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about trends. I had started this video as just a recording. I did like 4 of them, and then my husband came home and I had to be a little quiet. I didn't want him to think I was talking to myself. But the topic of trends is kind of a big deal. Oh, and by the way, welcome to my office. If you had any ideas about my fancy office, now they're all shot down because I work in a basement, and I'm really grateful that I have this space, but it's kind of a part storage unit, part office, but it serves me well, and right now it's more about function than form. So this is me being really real. When it comes to trends, it's been kind of something I found to be a dirty word, and I don't know if that's just our culture in Utah. I found a lot of people have very negative feelings about trends, and part of that is because it's a driver for consumerism, and I think a lot of people are really bothered by that. It's not necessarily always a driver for it, but it does definitely drive the industry. Some people make comments to me often about how can these people dictate this, and they're telling us how it has to be, and trends don't exactly work that way. To some degree, we are having someone dictate those trends to us, but it's based off of observations about what's going on in our culture and what's going on in our world. So they'll look at what's going on nationally, and the trends are usually things like new product that's come out of the woodwork, or an artist that's kind of got a new take on things. They'll look at different industries, different cultures, things that are influencing people that really have nothing to do with anyone driving it. It's just kind of something that's come up and people are interested in. So they'll take note of that, and then they will also create moods by deciding or determining what people are gravitating towards and what they maybe need. Because with color theory, and I have to think of the right words here, with color theory, the moods can be set by using colors intentionally. So when you have a lot of political unrest like we do in the world, I'm noticing a trend towards very rich, soothing, cocoon-like colors. All of the paint companies that I follow, like Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, and then even Pantone's new colors, predictions for the upcoming year, they're all in these like deep, rich, warm hues. It's kind of like that old library feeling, but with color, and it's being reborn for... I'm trying to see who's watching. This is making me so nervous. Oh my gosh, I actually have an audience. Hi, everybody. So anyway, the trending thing is so interesting to me because it has so much controversy. And some of you know that I work part-time as a window covering specialist, so I'm partly out in the consumerism retail industry, and then I have my clients. And there's different views that I see all the time, but there's some kind of consistencies. People feel very pushed to follow trends. They feel like if they're not, there might be something wrong. They feel a lot of peer pressure towards it, and then they feel a lot of resistance at the same time. And so I find it interesting, and I'm always trying to guide my clients to, consider the trends as something that inspires you. It gets you to think outside of the box. It's a new way of looking at things, and we need that. We get limited when we get in a box and we think it's only this way. Trends force us to look outside of that and say, hey, there's another way to do this, there's another possibility. And there's a lot of symbolism in trends. So if you start studying it, you realize there's a reason that everybody is doing what they're doing, and why these colors are popular. And you may not like them. You don't have to like them. I had a conversation with a lady a couple weeks ago when she came into the store, and it was interesting, and I'm going to mention it because it's kind of typical of the conversations that I have with people. She came into the store and she said something like, "Yeah, I just got a new house," and she's like, "And I guess the trend right now is, the Gaines HGTV style, kind of that glamorous farmhouse style or something like that." And I said, "Oh, really? I'm curious why you feel that that's on trend." And she said, "Well, that's what's on Pinterest. Haven't you seen it? It's everywhere. It's all over Pinterest." And I kind of chuckled and I said, "Well, that's what your friends are pinning, but that's not necessarily what's on trend. There are a lot of trends." And I said, "So if that doesn't speak to you, there are a lot of other things going on." I encouraged her to do a little bit of searching on Pinterest for, Sherwin-Williams colors and some of the inspiration rooms and that sort of thing. And I found that, she's just kind of at a loss. She's like, I don't really know what I like. And I think that when we feel that something has to dictate our preferences, like a trend, we kind of lose that sense of self as to what do we like and what reflects us. And so as a designer, I'm a little different than a lot of other designers I've worked around and that I've talked with. And not all. There are a lot who feel the same way I do. But I try to pull from my client who they are. A trend is not necessarily important unless it sings to them, unless they're like all over it and they're like, "I love this, this is me." If they're not there, we don't go there. So pulling from my clients what is going to be perfect for them is really important. And in fact, I use a lot of symbolism with clients if they're game for that. I have a system where I do that, and it's actually something I'm starting to record, and I'm writing a book about it. But to me, a space isn't worth living in or investing your money in if it's not going to feel like your space. And so trends have their purpose, and they, like I said, they get you out of the box, they get you thinking about new ways to do things, and it's great. I learn things all the time from the trends, and I get new inspirations, but it doesn't mean I follow it to the letter. It just gets me out of that box, because even designers can get stuck in a box. I have tried since the time I started this to not do repetitive design. When I first started in the industry, I worked for a builder, and I got brought in because they had a lot of customers who were picking their own colors without any guidance and any professionals to help them. And then these houses would be built and they were really unhappy. And they didn't realize that really the factor that made or broke the home, was color. They didn't understand color. And I've always had a really good grasp of that. So in my experience, when I would design a model home, I'd have 5 customers in a week under contract come in and say, "Well, I want my home to look like that model home." So I was really lucky back then because the builder had a lot of money and he was making a lot of model homes. So all of a sudden I have 4 model homes I'm designing, and I made sure that every single one of them was different. And that was so people could maybe find themselves in that. And so what began to happen is people would start coming and saying, "I want the model home on this street," or "I want this one on this street," or "This is what I liked about this. I like those cabinets." And we'd always start with something, but we'd always create it new for them. Because I don't believe that we are to be put in boxes. There's not a system. I mean, even designers, we have our rules. And it's not necessarily that rules can be broken, but if you understand the limitations and what can be done, you can expand beyond those limitations. So I decided to create a system to kind of support that. And it works every time. I sometimes feel like I go into a job with a new client like a blank slate. Like I'm thinking, I don't know what's going to happen because I have no intention to get a certain result. I just go in to read their energy and figure out who is this person and what do they want. And a lot of them will always, pretty much 99% of them are always worried about the trend. Well, if I do this, is it going to be on trend, or am I going to be able to sell it in a couple years, or what am I going to do? And I have to actually keep my computer light on because I don't have a lot of light down here. But I just try to help them figure out what they like. I'll put a lot of colors in front of them. I'll watch their reactions. It doesn't matter if it's on trend. If that color sings to them, there's a reason, and we'll start working around that. And the most important thing in a space is having it look aesthetically pleasing, but also having it hug the customer or client when they come home. They just are like cocooned by it, and they're like, yes, I feel good here. I feel at peace. And we're not all the same. We're like snowflakes. We're all different. So what works for one person is not going to work for another. So that's my little spiel on trends. I really appreciate you guys for watching. This is my first live video, and we'll see if I do it again. I am a very nervous public speaker, but I always have a lot going on in here, and I'm like, I just want to talk about this. So I appreciate you guys for letting me talk about it, and I hope you all have a lovely evening. Thanks so much.